Good evening, everybody. Thank you all for joining us for the first live session at the Nigeria Food Summit. I feel like it was only right that this is where we did it. And I'm so glad that we're on stage showing the different caveats of the food ecosystem. And what we're going to do to avoid us wasting any time, just kind of go into it. We're going to discuss the theme of the conference. So we're going to start the conversation with what do we think makes somewhere a global food destination?
Exactly. And I want to remind you all that this is an interactive podcast. So if there's any questions or anything that you would like to contribute, just have your questions ready because we are going to come out and ask if there's anything you would like to share. But our first question,
so
it's all about what the topic is. Mm-hmm. Nigeria being a global food destination. So what makes any place a global food destination? That's what we're going to delve into now. And would you like me to start?
Yeah, I think so.
I think the first thing I can come up with, and I think is probably the most obvious, is to have good food.
Basis. It should, the quality of the food should be the foundational of what makes something a global food destination. I think then to go off that, it's also having a variety of food scenes and environments where you can try the food. So be it food markets, street food, restaurants, local food spots. Those are things that are required before someone can say that anywhere is a global food destination. Because a global food destination kind of implies that people from all over the world go there, and the food is one of the things that's drawing them in.
I'll give an example. If you were to travel to somewhere like Thailand, you can go to the street markets and experience local Thai cuisine at a very affordable price.
Yeah.
You can also go all the way up to upscale restaurants, cafes, even the fast food. They will have Thai examples there. The fast food, the fine dining, every single level is celebrating Thai cuisine. And when I say good food, it's not just to ensure that you have food from all over the world. I think first where we found ourselves delving into as Nigeria was we're focusing on bringing in other cuisines rather than focusing on what makes our Nigerian food good. And until we can see Nigerian food being celebrated in all these different levels and different niches, we're not going to attract people to come to Nigeria and say, wow, how can I experience Nigerian food in all levels?
I agree. I think another thing is a trust in the standards.
Yes.
And the quality of what you're getting. So knowing that, okay, if you go to a street food market, there are at least base level standards in place that imply that the food that you're going to eat is not going to have you sat on the toilet for the entirety of your trip. Also, just trusting in the restaurants you go to. Even when you go to restaurants, knowing that they're clean restaurants, knowing that they're restaurants that uphold a base level of health and hygiene is a very important thing in order for us to get to global food destination.
Because if you're to solo travel, how can you say you're going to be comfortable going to an establishment if you have no idea where you are as a country, you don't know anybody there? That trust is so important to know that that country has your back. They ensure that they put their hygiene first, their customer first. And that leads into the next one, which is just having good infrastructure.
Yeah.
To be able to access restaurants, be it through road transportation, accessing information, being able to Google, have reviews and standards being set online where you can trust that these are the places that have been proven to consistently give good food in all avenues and all angles.
And I think another one when we talk about access is finances, even just being able to have access to your funds if you're coming in from another country and the currency used over there is entirely different, which is something that needs to be worked on anywhere, because you go to some places and no matter what currency your bank card is, you can put it into an ATM and it will work, but that's not always the case here.
Exactly.
So, as we said, interactive. So what we're going to do is just throw it out and ask if anyone feels like there's anything we've missed when it comes to what makes somewhere a global food destination. I think that interactiveness.
Don't be shy. You think we got it all?
Got it all?
Well, thank you.
That's great.
That's good for my credentials. We won't let you out. We won't let you go easy next time. But that's good to know. I think we pretty much covered most
it
of the
all.
bases.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's quite.
So let's get into the real gist of the topic now. Let's get into our bites. Whoa.
You ready?
What is Nigeria doing right now to put us on an equal playing field to say that, you know what, we deserve to have the title as being a global food destination?
That's a great question. And I think another thing we kind of need to focus on is what are the individuals in the ecosystem also doing? So it's easy to say what's Nigeria doing, but the focus needs to be a bit more grassroots. So what are we as chefs doing? What are restaurant owners doing? What are food vendors doing? What are all of us as an ecosystem individually doing? And I think if we're looking at examples, a great example is where we're sat today. The Nigeria Food Summit is, it's a gathering of food, hospitality industry professionals. So that in itself, as we go into the second year of this and the third year of this, it is going to draw in people that are now interested in what is Nigerian food and how can I be involved in that ecosystem. What do you think?
The summit is doing amazing. I think it's been very great to see people like me who look like me, who have come from my country, being able to showcase their talents, being able to showcase what they're doing for Nigeria, being able to network. We've seen other summits, we've seen other conferences. I don't need to give names. Where it's been focused on an international eye, bringing in, people not from Nigeria to heighten up the experience, when I think we have a good amount of people here in our home base who are doing amazing things that we deserve to hear from. So that's definitely a first one. People will start to take us seriously internationally when they see in our country that we are also taking ourselves seriously.
Exactly.
And putting our own talent, our homegrown talent on the pedestal to shine.
I think another thing is something that quite a few people are now deciding to do. And it's one of the things that will kind of set a lot of us apart, is taking pride in our local ingredients, in our native cuisines, because if we don't take pride in it, we cannot show the world what these ingredients and what our cuisine is capable of.
Yeah.
And it's a no-brainer, because like you said, if you go to Thailand, you go there to eat Thai food. People should come to Nigeria wanting to eat Nigerian food in a myriad of ways. It shouldn't just be the native way. Yes, we can take our native dishes and reimagine them like we both do in our professional careers. And I think that's one way that a lot of people are working towards that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that has allowed us to now look and see how we are being recognized internationally. I'm sure you've heard this. This was a great past year for Nigerian cuisine.
Definitely.
We had Akoko, Chisuru in the UK both get Michelin stars for being restaurants that celebrate West African ingredients with such pride. And that starts because these chefs took pride in our ingredients. They said we can showcase just how versatile our ingredients are. It doesn't have to be just the way that we have known them to be, or we don't have to change our traditions or our techniques to try and please the international eye. Why not focus on the techniques that are indigenous to our nation and show that these can be fine dining? So like taking the local ingredients. When we take our ingredients seriously, we put them on an international stage to be recognized and respected. We've gotten that global recognition, which has been amazing to see.
It has been.
And that would also help then bring more curiosity to Nigeria.
100%. Yeah. And I think another thing is actually putting in the work. So recognition that people are seeking, it can't just be self-acclaimed. Your work has to match the recognition that
Can you say that again, please? Recognition can't be
self-acclaimed. You have to work for it. People, by definition of what recognition means, it means other people are recognizing the work you do. And in order for people to recognize the work you do has to have some level of authenticity, excellence, and quality to it.
Look, as Nigerians, we know how to hail ourselves, right?
We really do.
And it doesn't just take enough to say, oh, I have 2 million followers online, and that suddenly means that I know everything about the industry. Clout is not credibility in my eye. And that's something that we have to remember as a nation. Not everything is bought by clout. If you want to be respected internationally, they're going to ask serious questions. Where did you go to, where did you study? Or how long have you been in the industry? Who have you worked with that can call you a peer, a colleague? Who have you inspired? What impacts have you caused in your nation? I can keep going on and on and on and on.
Wow.
It's not how many views did you get for blending so and so in a butchie meat.
Okay, so with what Vanessa has said here, I think that kind of segues into our next bit where it's like, okay, we can acknowledge the things that are being done, but where are we now falling short? What are the things that we need to be doing in order for us to get the global recognition that we're looking for?
Yeah.
And just to buttress on her point, because she's touched on it, and it's very important. I think one of the first things is making sure the people that are the face of the industry, the people that are the faces and the voices of the industry, are people that are not backed merely by vanity metrics, but by proof. The proof is in the pudding, like they say. We want to see the pudding. What is it that you do that makes you the best chef? And it's also important to note, I think another thing is just that titles mean things. So if you're calling yourself a chef, be putting in the work to be respected and known as a chef. I think sometimes what happens is people are not doing the work, but they want a title. And title isn't everything. Sometimes let the work speak for itself, and then the titles and the accolades will come from everywhere else.
I think it's come from being quite a new industry. And we have access to a lot of information online where we try and quickly compare ourselves to countries or nations that have been doing this or have established themselves for quite a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very easy to look at someone online and say, oh, I'm doing the same thing. I can call myself this. When realistically, you don't know the years and years or maybe decades of work that they have put behind it. Titles do mean things. And as a new industry, we're very easily able to just grab onto sectors and take ownership of it. Maybe you're the first person to do this, and that's how you have been able to claim a title that may not necessarily have been given to you anywhere else.
Wow.
So it's time to start critiquing and asking ourselves to be intentional about what we want to name ourselves, because once you put that name on your title, once you give yourself that title and you want to be taken to a global podium, can you also stand next to people with the same title, with the same pride, and say that yes, I'm here to as an equal or even better than those people?
Exactly.
It's very, very important. And I want to just say this as well. There are so many avenues in the food industry. There's chefs, there's caterers, there's food entrepreneurs, there's business owners who find a niche in a product, for example. All these things have amazing substances. They all provide amazing, what's the word? Recognition, credibility.
Yeah.
Don't always chase the one that seems to be the popping title, just because maybe right now it's popular to be a chef. At the end of the day, it's about how your business is going and what's in your bank account. No one can say anything else.
Exactly.
So find a niche, find that thing you want to work for, work hard at it, and be proud of that title. And make sure you do the work to establish that title with credibility.
I agree. I think another thing in terms of what we can be doing is understanding that the vertical value chain is untapped. So there are so many other caveats of the industry outside of being a chef or a restaurant owner that people have not tapped into. And so, like she said, you can say you're the first, but it's also about saying you're the first and doing the work diligently. And knowing that, okay, everyone wants to be a chef. What else in this industry? I want to be part of this ecosystem, but I want to do something different and figure out what it is that is untapped and how to tap into it diligently. That's kind of my
I agree
thing.
with that.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to infrastructure, it's a humbling thing to admit that we are just a small part of this ecosystem, and we have to really ask those questions about how to improve our industry by working together. And when it comes to food tourism, it is heavily reliant on so many other factors to work. The food value chain, what's the agricultural situation like? How are farmers' businesses doing? How are we getting access to local supplies? How is the transport to get those supplies to you? How are we going from farm to table? All these questions need to be answered. And when it comes to infrastructure, I think it's very important for Nigeria to be seen as globally respected. We have to start fixing those issues to ensure that we don't have any gaps that we're missing from fully capitalizing on what the nation could be.
Yeah, and I think that kind of leads really beautifully into our last point, which is the fact that if you do look at global food destinations around the world, they are supported by the government or government-led initiatives, and that is something that is not happening here. So people are starting out in the industry, and it's from a self-serving point of view, and it's valid in the sense that if you're not being supported and you're the one bootstrapping it, then you want, the credit and everything. But also, we have to start thinking outside of ourselves and doing it for the greater good. But also, part of the greater good is getting support from the government, whatever that looks like. And it's definitely something that needs to be explored a little bit more.
Exactly. Tourism, it's both public and private sector.
Exactly.
And both avenues need to come together. We need to work together and make sure we answer those questions. And that also brings in making sure that the majority of the nation are well employed to support this economy. Global tourism spots, no matter where you are, from managerial positions to service-led situations, you are supported with either hospitality training, going to schools, providing a good enough sector that, the majority of the country are being given the opportunity to educate themselves on being part of the tourism sector. It's a whole nation that is involved. It's not just one or two people. It's not 10 people, it's not 1,000. It's millions of people that can get employed from agricultural schemes, farmers' projects, processing and manufacturing, all the way through to providing avenues where local businesses can sell their produce directly to the consumer, giving them avenues where tourists can meet with local production, local pottery makers, local soup makers, whatever the career is. It's very well supported.
And I think when you touch on education, it's important to know that if we do look in comparison to other global food destinations, their culinary education is something that they take pride in. You go to France, they have some of the best culinary schools in the world. If you go to Italy, they have great culinary schools. Outside of just the culinary schools, there are also hospitality schools where the entire hierarchy of the restaurant business has been in some form of training. Whereas here we have a lot of people that open restaurants and you're a restaurant owner or restaurant manager and you have no training. So everyone is just kind of winging it. So if the highest point on your hierarchy scale is untrained, we cannot expect world best from our waiters, and that's kind of what happens. People go into restaurants and are upset that the waiter is this and they're not.
But you have to look up.
The servitude is not good, but it's not good because the people that are managing them, the people that own the places, don't know what they're doing.
And that's a really good point to now ask ourselves, who are the ones that are opening restaurants? Who are the people that are entering the food industry? And a lot of the time we see a pattern where restaurateurs are, or let's say the people who are opening restaurants are opening businesses as a second option or a second career. They probably have a primary focus, a primary career in another avenue. And they see opening a restaurant or a food-led business as just a way to either make money, wash money.
Well,
other ways, it's distracting. And the focus is not about being a service-led business or about fixing a problem or filling a gap in the industry. So until we look at that as we want to serve people, we want to be welcoming and hospitable to people, not just that look like us, but people who want to come and visit us.
And experience
us. That's when we'll see ourselves fully develop.
I agree. So just before we go into the last bit of this, does anyone in the audience want to add to anything we've said?
Any questions?
Yes. Hi, sir.
My name is Ottavio. I'm
Hi.
from the U.S.
Nice to meet you.
Lovely to meet you.
And so I think the problem with a lot of foreigners from all countries, my dad is from Sicily, my mom is Armenian from Lebanon.
Okay.
So even probably with Nigeria, you said you wanted to go global, you want to get a global respect and global name, right? Americans don't really know food. You know, there's like maybe some top chefs in New York,
Yeah.
but that's it. And so, then the mass Americans will get this idea of Nigerian food, for example, that is kind of subpar. It's just not
Yeah.
really hitting as hard as when you come here. So when I come here, man, I chop like crazy because the food is so, you know.
So good, yeah.
And so I think it'll give it a bigger global appeal if Nigerians, when they go to America, they don't cut corners. They keep the same recipes, the same love, the same umph, even if it's going to cost them more, because it just takes that one push of letting the world know that this food is good. And I think Chinese food has done that in New York.
Yeah.
So now people want to go eat around the world. Italian food has done it in New York.
Yeah.
Armenian food a little bit in California and
like
Glendale.
Turkish, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Arabic food in Michigan. But
Okay.
Nigeria food around the U.S. isn't really
Not so much
as
so.
good. Yeah.
So yeah, I think I do agree with what you've said. I think being someone that has run a Nigerian food business outside of Nigeria, I guess your mass market there is easily impressed. But then people also realize that there is a large diaspora that just want home food. So there's this thing where it's like, okay, well, if I can make it with this, then I don't need to do it. I don't need to make the stock to add to it. I just use a stock cube or whatever it may be, little things. And in turn, I guess what you're saying is that it kind of dilutes the authenticity of it. So then until they experience it here, they don't understand how much they're missing out there. And the better way to go about that is doing it right from the jump, which I think is really valid. What do you
That's
think?
a really amazing point. And I think the way I can look at giving my experience with that is when I lived in the UK, for example, when I used to order from caterers or when I was looking for Nigerian food, there was typically one avenue only, and that was through a caterer,
Yeah.
maybe an auntie or someone that
Yeah.
cooked in her house. And typically, Nigerian food wasn't seen as something that anyone else would eat other than people who
Nigerians.
knew Nigerian food. So
Yeah.
Nigerians or maybe someone who had grown up around a Nigerian family. So that automatically, I think, puts the food business of Nigerians in the global market as not really as something that they could see as exporting as a touristic product, but more so I'm cooking for my people, I'm cooking out of my house. You're going to get what you're going to get.
Yep.
It's only until recently through, I would say, social media and maybe like videos from Instagram Reels or TikToks where people are posting their recipes and gaining more global recognition and people are understanding, oh, this is jollof rice, this is egusi, oh, I'm going to go to a restaurant that's close to me in LA and try egusi
Try
soup
it
for the
out,
first
yeah.
time. And when you saw those initial videos at first, they were going to really questionable areas or questionable restaurants where maybe they hadn't really focused on their look or their appeal. But as soon as these restaurants saw just how much viewership they were getting, suddenly you now see they're
see
really
them
starting to take a
improving.
bit more
Yeah.
pride in ensuring that the quality they're producing is one consistent, and then also the way that they're presented visually is also appealing. So Nigerian food has taken a turn where we're suddenly no longer being just for ourselves in the shadow, and now we're seeing that, you know what, we can export ourselves to a wider community, and that's going to help us now start looking at improving our standards in a global place. So if you go back home to America or the UK, you will see that there are a lot more restaurant-style cuisines that are Nigerian now. I don't know much about the US, but I do
yeah.
know, for example, there's an African restaurant in New York, Tatiana's, which is like a fine dining establishment that's sold out months in advance. There's also I think a Senegalese in New Orleans.
Okay.
I've forgotten the name from the top of my head, but these places are coming up, and in the UK, even from affordable establishments like 805 or Enish, that
yeah.
People can come to and sit down and eat Nigerian food in a lovely environment. We're just getting there. So when we have a few more eyes on us, and when they see the importance of having these eyes to be respected, that's when you're going to see that, okay, we can't just be subpar anymore. We have to ensure that we're providing a standard that can also be ensuring that the interest will come back home to Nigeria as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Okay, to round up, we're going to go into our favorite segment.
Yes. Oh, you have a
And
question?
oh, is there a question?
Oh,
Yes,
please, please.
please go on.
So yes, my name is Helena, and I am representing my company, the Kitchen Club.
Mic check, mic check.
It's a food rental company. So we rent out our kitchens to food entrepreneurs, creatives, and chefs who would love to use our kitchen. And also, by profession, I'm also a certified chef.
All right.
So I can understand your plight when it comes to tourism, trying to export, most of what we have out there. So what I would like to add is that as Nigerians or as Africans, because I don't like to tag Nigeria alone because we are wide in the food industry. So let's just say exporting African cuisine.
Yeah.
All of us cannot own restaurants across the world. So we can do things with semi-finished product goods and export it. Things like our spices, our yaji spices, all those things need to be exported. And then looking at our food. Our food is actually something a white man can eat. The problem is education and illiteracy, I'm sorry to say in quotes. Most of these foreign people that we have, they think Africans do not have something similar with them. But we do, because we share culinary techniques together.
Yeah.
We share spices together. We share ingredients as even plantain together, but it's just different breeding. And an example, I would say simmering. We simmer our rice in Nigeria. We're simmering things like rice, like yam. They also simmer like their own basmati rice to abroad. And another culinary technique that we share in common with, Europe and other parts of the world is grilling. We also grill our chicken here in Nigeria. We also grill fish here in Nigeria. So the problem with not accepting Nigerian cuisine or not accepting African cuisine is because we think Europeans think that we are far away from them. But when we, come together and understand that we share culinary traditions together, we share spices together, like our robust flavors, ginger, garlic, cinnamon. We use these things in Africa.
Yeah.
But this European think that, no, we don't. And this is me just saying, I have a book coming out soon. It's titled Taste of Two Nations. It's a culinary journey through Africa and Asia. And it got the attention of the first female president of Mauritius. She had to say, we actually do. But a lot of people don't. So the more we reorientate ourselves, these people will get to know that there's actually love across borders. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll begin to wrap this session up. We have about 5 more minutes to wrap this up, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, the segment.
Do you want to share something back?
No.
Okay, I have something.
Okay.
Okay.
Keep it
Thank
short
you
and
so
sweet.
much for sharing. I think you made a very valid point about understanding that there's so many things that we can export other than being chefs or restaurants, which I think we had made that point, from the spices and the ingredients that we share in familiarity. That comes with opening dialogues and education, like you said. I wouldn't just blame it on the Europeans, though. I think we also have a part to play as Nigerians. And one is also educating ourselves on the base ingredients that we have. Sometimes I think that we focus on a dish rather than the ingredients and understanding, okay, this ingredient is actually in more than one place. It's not just in Nigeria. And one thing I want to also ask Nigerians to do, when you do see someone that is not Nigerian cooking something that is familiar, similar to our dishes, not to be so critical online. Because
100%.
when curiosity comes, that also helps open dialogues. And we can share conversations and say, oh, we have a similar ingredient like this back home. How do you use it where you're from? Rather than saying, this is not how we make
This
it.
is not how to make it, so.
Or I don't want to try this.
Yeah.
Or Nigeria this is the only way you can do it. No. We have to be open to exploration, conversation.
Yeah. Yes.
I have a question.
Go on.
Hi, my name is Chuka.
Hi, Chuka.
I'm a fan of food. Wanted to ask you two beautiful chefs, which is more important, elevating our food to a sort of Michelin star, or which sort of pleases international tastes, or leaning more into what we know as our Nigerian taste and having the international guys adapt to that?
That's a great question. That's a really good question. I'm of the school of thought that we can find a balance between the two. I think that if we are open-minded enough to look at our native dishes and understand that they can taste exactly the same, but still have a refined way of looking. Because the important thing to note is that a lot of people don't eat nobody eats with their mouth first, they eat with their eyes first. So you can make something that is an authentic Nigerian dish, but plate it and present it in a way that is appealing to anyone that would then eat it. Someone, especially when they're not familiar with our dishes. So with us, and I'll use abula as an example, the way abula is plated, if you give that to someone that doesn't know our food, it's just like, yo, what is this? Red, yellow, green, brown. But if it's plated and presented in a way that, focuses on the colors and the contrasts on the plate, there's finding a balance between it. I'm not saying we should lose our authenticity. Like, someone will cook ayamashe now and not use iru. It takes away from the taste. That's not ayamashe anymore. So we can still use our ingredients and keep our authentic dishes, but also just learn to find the middle ground in presenting it in a way that at least would attract someone. Because once you have them by eye, mouth is next, and then regardless of what it looks like the next time, because they know that tastes good, they're going to eat it regardless.
I'll also add that aiming for something like Michelin recognition doesn't necessarily have to mean that you take away from what it is to be African.
Yeah.
Look at Japanese culture, for example, the whole sushi making process, or what's it called? The
Omakase?
Omakase. That is authentically Japanese. They haven't Europeanized themselves to make themselves respected by the Europeans. They have found and respected the history of their traditional techniques and made it absolutely respected globally. And I think we can do that in Nigeria because we can look into our history and see that we have some amazing Michelin-level respected techniques, from smoking to the way we ferment, to the way we...
Fermenting is the best.
Fermenting is the best example. I can't go past that. So we have those techniques here, and we don't have to say what we were doing that was wrong was that we were trying to first conform to what we see internationally rather than looking inward to say, what are we doing that we can educate the international market that we are doing well? So that's how I will end that.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
So let's quickly do our one bite because we have to do our one bite. It's our most famous part of our segment.
So we're going to do our one bite and we're going to literally zoom past it.
Yeah.
Cool. So the one bite segment for today is, and we felt like it was very befitting because this article that was written on a global publication. And there was an article written and on the FT Globetrotter, and it was Power Dining in Lagos, an insider guide to restaurants that really mean business in West Africa's finance hub. And the overall thing there were 5 restaurants mentioned, and of the 5, only one was Nigerian owned. And I think, like we have mentioned at the start, in order for us to be respected as a global food destination, we have to own the narrative on our restaurants and our establishments. Because 20% of a list being foreign owned is questionable. It's not something that we should take lightly. It's definitely something that we need to look as to one, why, and secondly, were people omitted from that list that maybe should have been on that list, but for whatever reason, they're not being recognized.
Yeah, I think this is one of the biggest publications globally that is probably the first introduction to what the Nigerian restaurant or hospitality scene is like. So it's very important to think about the kind of restaurants that were put on there that is giving to international consumers for their first interaction with the Nigerian hospitality scene. And the only restaurant that was mentioned that is black owned or Nigerian owned was Nok by Alara. The rest were Lebanese and
foreign owned.
Yeah, foreign owned.
But so I just feel like that's just something. What we would have usually done is kind of put it out to you guys. In order for us to wrap up, we're not going to be able to do that, but it's definitely, no pun intended, food for thought.
Yeah, I think my one bite would be definitely to talk about the restaurants that I do believe could have been highlighted. There are so many amazing Nigerian-owned restaurants that are doing beautifully. Look at Chef Obehi and Ona, the Smith sisters with not one, not two, 3, and opening a 4th establishments.
Yeah.
You know, there are avenues, and I know they spoke about Lagos, but if we went to Abuja, we can look at Burgundy, we can look at Rodo.
Exactly.
So there has to be a little bit of intentionality to ensure that our locals are also being celebrated, and it doesn't
And
feel like you're just
spotlighted.
we're putting in the hard work and not getting the recognition that is deserved.
Definitely. So,
Do you have a
wrapping it up. No. I think I pretty much said my one
Yeah,
bite in the
I think so.
thing. Yeah. Okay.
So, Wumi, we've done it.
we've done it. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
So we've just made it through our first live podcast. I'm so proud of us.
I'm just happy we were able to share one bite with you guys. And we just kind of want to remind you all that all the episodes from season 1, not all of them, episodes from season 1 are available on YouTube and all podcast streaming platforms, and the rest of season 1 will be released within the next few weeks. We're also starting season 2 really soon, and we are still looking for sponsors and guests. And a podcast manager. So if there's anyone here that feels like they want to come on board the One Bite at a Time team and help manage and assist with the podcast, please do come up to either of us.
And please make sure to interact with our posts, like, follow, share. As we said, season 2 is going to be filmed soon. We would love to get some questions, some thoughts in our DMs that we can put on our season 2 podcast. We are a very interactive and family-centered space here.
Yes.
So make sure to follow us on all platforms at OneBitePod.
_. Okay, thank you so much. And we look forward to dishing that out with you
One bite at a time.